Hello, third grade scientists. Today we are going to be talking about flowering plants. So we've learned about scientists classify plants looking at their structures, their habitats. We also talked a little bit about how different people classify plants differently depending on their needs, like a farmer versus a gardener versus a scientist or a landscaper. So today we're going to specifically look at plants that have flowers. I am in my reading under classifying plants on page 72 for flowering plants. And I'm in my questions section under classifying plants on page 84. We're going to start off like we always do by answering those true-false questions to get our brain thinking. So in your question packet, let's look at statement 1. It says, all flowers look pretty and smell nice in order to attract insects. Do you think that's true or do you think that's false? All flowers look pretty and smell nice in order to attract insects. Number 2 says most of the plants on Earth make flowers. Do you think that most of the plants make flowers? True or false? And statement 3 says grass is one kind of plant that does not ever make a flower. True or false? All right, so you should have your 3 true or falses written in your before box. Again, you may not know for sure, and that is okay. By the end of our lesson today, you will know your answers. Let's go ahead and dive into our reading. So under classifying plants section, page 72, we're looking at flowering plants. Flowering plants are plants that make flowers and seeds. Most of the plants on Earth, over 3/4 or 75%, are flowering plants. There's an answer to your true-false question. So far, scientists have identified over 250,000 different kinds of flowering plants. Most kinds of trees and shrubs, along with every type of flower, belong to this group. Some plants have only one flower on each stem, while others have groups or clusters of flowers on each stem. So when we put a group of flowers together, we call them a cluster. Here are some pictures of flowering plants. As you can see here on the left, this plant has one flower on its stem versus the ones over here have lots of flower buds or flowers on their stem. They are both flowering plants, but they are looking different. Flowering plants are found almost everywhere, from deserts to polar regions and everywhere in between. So hot deserts to the freezing cold polar regions. About 2/3 of all flowering plants live in hot, wet, tropical areas. Think about that. Why would they want to live in hot, wet, tropical areas? Well, hot, heat is going to give them their sun. Wet is going to give them their water. And together with that carbon dioxide, they're able to make food and lots of it. So those conditions make it perfect for one, plants to make their food through photosynthesis, and 2, to germinate once they make their seeds. So plants love those tropical areas because they can make food and germinate once their seeds have been produced. Some flowering plants even grow in water. Some flowering plants, such as cactus, live in the desert. And here are some pictures of flowering plants in different habitats. We have those tropical plants where a lot of them like to live because of the warm environment. We have tundra, that's what we call that frozen land. So here's some little flowering plants. Here are some water plants or water lilies and some cactus in the desert. And all of those plants make flowers. Here's another picture of water lilies. They're one kind of flowering plant that lives in the water. Its broad, flat leaves are shaped to float on the water. So here's its broad, meaning wide, flat leaves on the water. Flowers come in many different shapes and sizes. Some plants have flowers that are small and plain. Other plants have flowers that are big and colorful. One of the largest flowers, the Titan arum, grows to be over 10 feet tall. So let's look at some examples. Here is a picture of some grass. The flowers on this grass are tiny and not very noticeable. So one of our questions was, does grass ever make a flower? Yes, it does. They're often very tiny little flowers, but grass does make a flower. And here's another picture of it up close. And think about that. That's someone's finger. So think about your finger and how small those little flowers are on that piece of grass. Here is a picture of that large Titan plant. Here it is. This is the large Titan plant, and let's look at it compared to a person. So here are 3 people standing by this. Now, this Titan arum plant does not smell pleasant and really doesn't even look pleasant. It actually smells like rotting meat. Ugh, that's gross. This smelling rotting meat actually doesn't attract pretty bees. It attracts flies and beetles that then pollinate the flower. So another one of our questions today was, do they all look pretty and smell nice? No, they don't. This Titan arum does not look pretty or smell nice. Remember, flowering plants produce seeds, and those seeds often have a fruit surrounding them to protect them, to help them reproduce. So most of our plants on earth make flowers. Here's another example of a plant. Let's look at this. How would we classify this? Well, I can see that there is lots of little flowers on their stems. I notice that it has a purple flower, and this type of a plant is a flowering plant called a thistle. Next time we come together, we're going to talk about, well, what happens to those other parts of our plants that don't flower?